Well, the United States is the largest trafficker of children in the world. Children that are illegally kidnapped, brought across the U.S. Mexico border, are then sold off to mostly wealthy Americans, used as sex slaves, and worse, if you can imagine, worse than that. It's happening, and the corporate media, of course, is largely ignoring the story for whatever reason. They refuse to touch the story. Many of these kids, these children, are kept in hidden concentration camps in the United States. Yes, I said it. Hidden concentration camps in the United States.
Like you said, when it comes to child trafficking, there's so much evil behind it that people don't want to touch the story. And if they do touch it, they touch it briefly. And it just goes to show you how much evil there is behind it, that it holds that much power over people, that it's kept in the dark.
You just give us, our audience, a background as to what exactly you did working as an immigration contractor.
So the way it works is the US government is washing their hands, keeping their hands clean by going out and handing out massive contracts to organizations that they like to call NGOs. And these NGOs, they will get contracts for food services, for laundry services, for educational services for the illegal immigrants. They will hand out $100 million contracts to give these services for free. And the company that I work for specifically, their job is they hold the largest contract to move children around the United States of America. So my job was to move children from point A to point B. And my job was to pick children up at the border and then move them to their sponsors. I've been to every state that you could name. I've been there. I've been to North Dakota, Vermont, Florida, dropping kids off, all of them. And New York City and Florida, the most popular ones. So yes, we would get text messages, we would get phone calls at 7 p.m. at night, 6 p.m. at night, saying, hey, we have a trip out tomorrow. Can you make the trip? I say yes. It's always in the dark because they don't want us picking up these kids in the day where people can see us. I would get for example, hey, 4 a.m. And I would not find out where I was going until the following day when I would show up to the charter bus. We get files saying, hey, you're going to head off to Orlando, Florida. You're going to head off to Los Angeles. You're going to head off to Nashville, Tennessee. And you're dropping off 6 kids. And in those files, you get a hard copy of an ID of the sponsor who's waiting for you at the airport in baggage claim. So the handoff is always in baggage claim at these airports. No parents are here, no aunts and uncles are with them. They showed up to the border by themselves. It's insane. And the other insane part is these Walmart shelters also have babies. I've escorted myself. I can personally myself say I picked up a baby that's 5 months old, 8 months old, 4 months old, and escorted them to a sponsor.
The whole thing is awful, but who are these sponsors then?
The sponsor is supposed to be meeting me face to face because their ID is the one that I can only accept. So they're supposed to be at the airport, but a lot of the times it does not happen. And these sponsors are supposedly family members. They can be an aunt or an uncle. They're supposedly a stepmother. They're supposedly a stepfather. They're supposedly a sister or a brother or a cousin. Sometimes they're even family friends. But it's like, how do you prove that this is a family friend? Or how do you prove this is a cousin when you don't even do DNA testing anymore at the border when it comes to the current administration? I started hearing horror stories from my coworkers. My coworkers used to tell me my child that I escorted was crying because they said that they did not know the sponsor that I was taking them to. And they were telling me, please, sir, I don't want to go to the sponsor. I don't know them. They at the campsite where I was, at the Walmart shelter where I was, they told me that I supposedly know the sponsor, that the sponsor is supposedly my uncle or my aunt, but I've never met him. I don't remember. And my coworker would say, but I don't care. I still handed the child off even though the child was crying because I wanted to go out and party.
And it's all happening right in front of our eyes, and the United States government is funding it. Former Walmarts, right? So these are giant
Yes.
facilities, former Walmarts that are housing these children. Are they like sleeping in cots and beds? And they're just there waiting to be, is it right for me to say, sold off to these people around the country? I mean, that's the best way to describe it, right?
It's the best way to describe it. You're right to say that because you're met with so much opposition, so much aggressiveness at the front gate that you can't even go into the parking lot for these facilities, these former Walmart facilities.
Thousands of children being kept in these concentration camps in the United States, funded by the federal government, and then children shipped off to quote unquote sponsors, never to be seen again or heard from again. We've had multiple sources here on our show who say these children are being sold off as sex slaves, being used in sweatshops as slaves, as physical labor slaves, and the most horrible thing of all, which is organ harvesting. And we've heard this multiple times from multiple sources that this is happening in a large capacity in the United States. It's a multi-billion-dollar a year industry, and no one's doing anything about it.